not identify all of the students who needed that skill, so they had maybe 7 or so students who did that particular pre-test and post-test, and they did really well. The last program that we had was the Resilience Camp with Mrs. Houston. This was something that was new this year, and this was kind of her brainchild. It was really great. She had 6 rising 4th and 5th grade students that she identified, and they participated in social emotional wellness activities through those experiences. And so she was there, Dr. Hauser, Ms. Farmer, Ms. Music, Ms. Britt, I might be missing somebody. They all participated with her in that. So Monday, they had a therapy dog. This Duke, who was a principal in Middlesex, I believe, has a therapy dog. She came in with them. And the other days, they went on trips. And so they went to Dream Catchers. They went to C&J Farm in Matthews. And they went to the Bray School in Colonial Williamsburg on Thursday. I think it was probably the hottest of the year. Miss Britt. It was probably the hottest of the year. But they had a really great time. They participated on Monday in a pre-assessment, and Ms. McHuston plans for them to do that, the post-assessment, when they return. And she's already planned some lunch bunch groups and things for when they return. So that was something that was new and different, and that we were really excited about and hope to continue to grow. There were some other pictures that they took. Lots of horses, I noticed, between their couple of trips, but they had a great time. And I want to tell you thank you to our leadership team. Thank you all for supporting our students in their continued learning. Of course, our teachers and interventionists we want to thank. They gave up some of their summers, so that was wonderful. That was really wonderful. The elementary school welcomed us into their building, and then we had to share classrooms. So some of the teachers who weren't there this summer, we were in their space. So thank you to them. Mr. Walker and his team, we had Mr. Friday and some other security team members, our bus drivers and van drivers, and Ms. Osborne also provided breakfast and lunch for those students. So we want to thank her, and of course to our families for supporting their continued growth. No question. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, now we'll go to our reports. First up, Mr. Hudgens, Spring Athletics.
All right, good evening, everybody. Thank you all for allowing me to be here. And we'll go ahead and recap the spring sports from this past year. If you know anything about spring sports, you know that it is a very, very busy, trying time. I feel like as a first-year athletic director, if you can make it through the spring, you can make it through pretty much anything. Because it's a lot going on. By far the most amount of sports, most amount of games by far, athletes. And then you couple that with rain that seems to come and never end. So, but it was a great time. We had some really great times during the spring, and our teams were also very successful. So we're going to start first with softball. They had a 9-8 record overall. Excuse me. That includes the playoffs as well. I put that we team there. That was kind of like their, I guess you could say, mantra, for lack of a better term. That's what their coach, Shane Donahue, would just repeat over and over. And it really did show that they had a we team. Nobody on that team really felt as though they were trying to stick out above the others, or the saying, "There's no I in team." That was especially truthful with this team. Every time that I went out to the fields, watching them practice, they were having a great time. There was absolutely no drama associated with the team, which is always a bonus. We love that. They also made it to the regional playoffs where they lost to Essex. They had quite a few all-district honors as a team. As you can see, Tara, the pitcher there, was first team all-district, as well as Lizzie Reed for designated hitter, that's what DH stands for. She was first team. Then you had Shelby Donahue, Haley Spradlin, Maggie Winter, and Savannah Swinsky rounding it out on the second team. Because they were so successful, they were able to have a couple all-region honors as well, with Tara and Maggie Winter being a part of that. And overall, this team was just a blast to be around. When I was out there on the baseball field, watching them practice or listening to them practice, I could hear the laughs all the way over baseball. And that's really not something that you can measure or put into words how important that really is for the team to like each other that much. As far as coaching staff, their head coach was Shane Donahue. The head JV coach was Mike Henrich, and they were assisted by Danny Ware and Don Saunders. And here's just a collage of pictures. I'm just going to say it once, so that way I don't repeat myself. We are so incredibly blessed with Mr. Agnew and his picture taking skills. I mean, all of these pictures right here are professional level pictures, and you'll see that throughout the rest of the presentation. We're just so blessed to have it. Moving on to the flip side of the softball coin with baseball. They had a 6-10 record overall. They ended up having some really, really thrilling wins over a couple rivals. Most notably Middlesex. We beat them by 1 run towards the end of the season, which was a really, really thrilling game. It's not a game that we kind of circled as a win, to be honest with you. Middlesex has a pretty traditional, good history of having very solid baseball teams and a solid baseball program overall. And I really enjoyed this team. If you know anything about me, baseball is kind of, I don't want to say my sport, but it's kind of my sport. I love baseball a lot. I played it growing up. That was my main sport all the time, and I was able to be out on the field with the team as much as possible, with having the AD duties as well, and they were a blast to be around. Also, the last game of the regular season, we played Colonial Beach. Technically, a little backstory of that, we did not even need to play them. In fact, playing them kind of hurt us. It didn't end up hurting us, but it could have hurt us. We were actually right above Colonial Beach in the regional playoff standings. But because of the way certain district and regional rules work, if Colonial Beach would have beaten us, they would not have gotten any more points for that win because it was outside of the actual district regular season. So if we would have lost to Colonial Beach, then they would have leapfrogged us in the standings, and we would have been knocked out of the regional playoff tournament. But I kind of told the team that. I told the head coach, Joel Mooney, that, and he kind of talked to the team, and they wanted Colonial Beach. They really wanted to play them. They had one particular student athlete in general that was a pitcher for Colonial Beach, and he's really good, for lack of a better term. But they didn't back down from the challenge. They said, no, we want to play Colonial Beach. We want to beat them and earn our spot in those playoffs. And they did exactly that. It was a great game. Calvin Robinson, who you see up there, is the second team all-district. He pitched a phenomenal game. That game, one of the best pitched high school games I have seen in quite some time. It's really hard to have a extremely, extremely successful varsity baseball program when kids are being introduced to baseball in the 8th grade for the first time, which is something that kind of surprised me. When I was previously coaching in Northern Virginia, I coached baseball. That's what I coached, travel baseball. And going from that, and the first day of practice, I'll never forget, I had a 10th grader, and we were just, tryouts, just warming up, getting ready to do some bullpens. And I tell him, I'm like, all right, I just want you to throw me a 4-seam fastball. And he looked at me like I had a leg kind of growing out of my head. And he said, Coach, what's a 4-seam fastball? I was like, oh my goodness, okay, all right. So there's a lot to do there. So that's definitely something that I kind of want to, work with the community on, or maybe, starting up some type of feeder program for not just for baseball, but for all sports in general, as it's really, really hard to be extremely successful at a varsity sport when you're just being introduced to it in 8th grade. They were fortunate enough to have a couple of all-district honors. We had Eric Reed Jr. there at first base. He was a senior. He was on the second team. Calvin Robinson, that I mentioned earlier, who's a junior. He was on the team as a pitcher. Gage Davis and Gunnar Cullingsworth rounded out the all-district honors, both being seniors. This team is also building for the future. I was talking to the head coach, Joel, and I was trying to figure out when the last time that we had JV baseball at West Point, because it seemed like it had been a while. And he kind of confirmed that it was the first JV team since COVID came in. And once COVID came in, that obviously changed a lot of things on the athletics front and whole. So I'm really excited that we were able to field a JV team, even though we did have to cancel a couple games. Kids' arms started hurting. Obviously, we want to put their health before anything else. But that's really good to show that hopefully we can start building on those numbers and keep that JV team there for as long as possible. Coaching staff for baseball, as I mentioned, is the head coach, Joel Mooney. And he was assisted by Eric Reed, L.A. Allen, and Brent Bohannon. And this is just another little collage of pictures that I just got from Mr. Agnew. Moving on to outdoor track and field. It was a phenomenal season for them. There were multiple school records, that were broken. The shot put record was broken by Taz Ray. That was previously held by Mr. Ben Vincent. And then Ethan Yard broke the pole vault record with a record-setting 13 feet. And I believe Taz's record was at 56 feet for shot put. 12 student athletes were able to qualify for the state meet over in Harrisonburg at JMU. And that was a great time. I went there with them. I was in the same hotel as them. And they were a blast to be around. They really enjoyed going there. The girls 4x800 meter team also won first place at regionals, which if you ask them, they say that they weren't expecting it, but they need to think more highly of themselves because they're really good. Ethan Yard, he also placed first at pole vault at regionals as well. And then, as I'm sure you all know, we had a D1 commit come from the track and field realm, and Taz Ray going to VMI for shot put and discus. As you can see, we have a lot of all-region honors. Obviously, the entire girls 4x800 meter team, consisting of Lena Sanders, Anna Jenkins, Lauren Ware, and Envy Nguyen. We also had Ethan Yard, as I mentioned earlier. But you also had Quinn Agnew in the 3200 meter, which is, lack of better, is 2 mile, essentially. He was on the second team, which essentially that means that he placed second at regionals, if that makes sense. Lena Sanders, she also placed second in the 800 meter, just as an individual. Same thing with Anna in the 1600, she placed second, and then Taz, he placed second in shot put. The coaching staff, I really enjoyed this coaching staff. I felt like they all brought something different to the table, and that's when you really maximize the potential of your coaching staff. If you have 5 or 6 coaches that all kind of coach the same way, talk the same way, you're not going to meet the need of every single individual student athlete, right? Because everybody is an individual and they should be treated as such. So something that I might be able to connect better with a student athlete, whereas a different coach may be able to connect better to a different one. So the head coach was Ed Ritchie. I'm not sure how to actually pronounce his name. I don't even think he knows, to be honest, because when he introduces himself, he introduced himself as Richie. His assistant coaches were Riley Betts, Gary Booker, and Ron Kirkland. And here's just another little collage. The picture there of Ethan, Everett, and Ben was at the state meet. Right there down the bottom, Taz, the state meet as well. And then I hate that this picture of Ethan kind of cut him off, but this was right after he broke the school record for pole vault, with that record set in 13 feet. Moving on to tennis. Tennis, it was, honestly, it was kind of a struggle at first to find a coaching staff for tennis. That's kind of one of those sports where, everybody has, a lot of people have played football, not as many people have played tennis, so therefore, it kind of creeps up to the coaching realm as well. But I was able to get head coach Stephen Brown towards right at the beginning of the season, and he works at the shipyard. And if you know anything about the shipyard, when they want you to work, it's not an ask. It is you are going to work this time from this time, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So when he first started, his work schedule was 12-hour days, 6 to 6 every single day. So that kind of, almost eliminated him from being able to be at practice. So I was really scrambling to find a coach. And I went to our PE teacher, Miss Kim Crockett, and I said, Kim, I know you're not a tennis coach. I know you coach basketball, but can you please just do tennis for me, please? And she jumped in head first, and that was the best thing that could have ever happened for those girls. They adored Kim, and she adored them. Same thing with the softball, talking about the laughing. You could hear them probably in the school building, every single day out of practice. They were just having a great time at practice, and that's really all you can ask for. Tennis is also a very, very hard sport to play. If I were to play tennis right now, it would not be good. That's why I play pickleball instead of tennis, because it's a whole lot easier. So it's a really hard sport to just pick up and start. And we also play in an extremely tough region for tennis, believe it or not. You have Rappahannock, who has a country club right beside them, and they're a perennial powerhouse for tennis. They're consistently going to the state tournament year after year. You also have Matthews, who has always been very good at tennis for as long as I can remember. So it's a very hard region to be able to succeed well in, but the team did, the best that they could, and they enjoyed their time. Our top performers were Claire Wood and Vivian Nguyen. They were the number 1 and number 2 ranked players, respectively. They were both seniors, so we're going to miss them very, very much. I just want to say again, I know she's not here right now, but I want to say a huge thank you to Kim, Coach Crockett. She really helped out, and she brought the girls together and made them a team. I also want to thank Mr. Mike Redford for being the activity bus driver for every single game. He loved it. He would always be calling Chris and I, hey, do you think Tennis can have a game? I think I can take him again. He really enjoyed it, and they enjoyed being with him as well. Another little collage of pictures I have of them. All right, moving on to the soccer world. So as you can see, there's a lot more information on this slide. Just wait till we get to the next slide. But focusing on girls soccer, they had an absolutely just phenomenal season. They had a 9-7-1 record overall. They made an appearance in the regional finals and the state tournaments, which is really, that's all you can ask for. It's definitely going to be a strong program for years to come, only losing 2 seniors after this year, so they should be able to continue that legacy of success quite a bit. I almost didn't put the all-district honors just because there's so many on there to recognize, but as you can see, we have a lot. A lot of first team members, a lot of second team members, same thing with the all-region and even all-state honors as well. Starting with the all-region, McKenna Fallis, Anna Jenkins, and Gabby Sturts were all on the first team. You also had Gabby Stover and Kate Payne rounding out the second team for all-region. And then the all-state honors, we had 2 first-team all-state members, which is absolutely phenomenal. Those ladies are McKenna Fallis and Gabby Sturts. We're going to miss Gabby quite a bit. We're going to miss her a lot. I'm sure. And then Anna Jenkins rounded out that second team for the all-state honors. And just sitting on the sidelines with these girls during home games, they had me cracking up. And I'm like, guys, stop trying to make me laugh. Stop. Focus on the game. That's just how they were. And it was really just a pleasure to see. We had a new head coach with Miss Maureen Long coming in, and everybody really seemed to enjoy her. Probably my favorite thing to watch on the sidelines was one of my assistant coaches, Patrick Matthews. When he would get a little flustered on the sidelines, the Irish would come out of him a little bit, and that was really something to watch there. That was fun. Elliot can probably tell you. It was great. The entire team just... Speaker agrees. So overall, I couldn't say any more about these girls. I could say a lot more, but they're just, words can't describe how fun and how well this team performed. And I'm really, really looking forward to see what they do in the years to come, because they're hungry for more. I can tell you that much. There are so many pictures that I can include from this team. I tried to get the best quality ones. I really like this one of Gabby and Envy right here. It's a really, really good picture. All right, I wanted to save this one for last, the boys soccer team. If you did not know, so I'm sure everybody in here probably knows, this team did go on to have a state final appearance this year. It is actually the first time in the history of boys soccer at West Point that they have reached the state championship. Unfortunately, they fell short at the end, 2-1. And I've only known these kids since August, right? But it broke my heart to see them lose, right? It broke my heart for them almost. Just the amount of emotion and hunger that you could see in these kids was amazing. One of the more wild stats that you could really say for this team, and Coach George Chapman pointed this out, they scored 121 goals and only allowed 14 all season. That right there that's astonishing. That's unheard of. That is just dominance at a complete and utter level that we probably haven't ever seen here. They had 12 shutouts across the season. They had a 19-2 record, the only 2 losses being in the regional finals to Northampton and then in the state finals to Galax. We were also very fortunate enough to have the Tidewater District Player of the Year and Elijah Gonzalez as a part of this team as well. I could not put all of the all district and all region players on here because the font would have probably been about yay big. So there were 8 first team all district players, 7 first team all region players. And then we also had, as you can see, quite a few all state players as well. Luke Bystrick as only a freshman making the first team. I believe, Eli's also a freshman. We also have Corey Daniel on the first team, as well as Elijah Gonzalez and Pearson Chapman. Aiden Elwanger as well on that first team. And then you have Eli, his brother, and Ethan Bystrick on that second team. And the future is still very bright, even though we're losing quite a few seniors from this team. Their JV record was 7-1. They had a huge turnout for tryouts. I believe the number was somewhere close to 50 players trying out, which is absolutely amazing to see. They're really, really building a phenomenal legacy for boys soccer and soccer in general for West Point. And just the more I got to know these guys, the more I just love them. When we were in the hotel, they were a blast to be around. They're playing hide and seek, all that fun stuff in the hotel, but they kept it under control as much as teenage boys can keep it under control. That makes sense. Their head coach was Jimmy Hoffman, who'll be returning next year. Their JV head coach was Stacy Elwanger, and they were assisted by George Chapman on the varsity level, and then Joe Fallis on the JV level. This team right here, I could go on and on and on for hours. I mean, they really were something special, and I really hope that we're able to continue that legacy. To see how the community supported this team was also something very, very encouraging. When we had the send-off, we had a ton of people out there. Even when they came back from states, they had a ton of people in the parking lot of the school to receive them, and they felt that support. They really did. I mean, they told me many times that this is awesome, this is great, I can't believe, that we're in the situation that we're in. So, absolutely a phenomenal job from this team. And then every single picture of Luke Bystrick that you see, his tongue is out. I don't know how, or his mouth is open. It's one or the other. I don't know how that happens, but every single picture here is just countless memories that I'm sure they'll cherish for a very, very long time. To kind of cap it out, I wanted to go over the Athletic Hall of Fame ceremony that we held towards the end of the school year. In years past, in years past, they kind of incorporated it into the Spring Sports Award ceremony, and just talking to the selection committee and other people in the community, really felt it was best to give them kind of their own day to be able to celebrate it themselves. So we held this on a Saturday at 2 p.m. We had a great turnout. We probably had about 60 people there to celebrate the Hall of Fame 2024 class. This is the class right here, everybody that was inducted. We had the 1958 state champion track team, 1969 track team, Mr. Tyrus Epps, who's class of 1970, Coach Mark Ware, class of 1985. We also have Kira Gaines, I think everybody more commonly knows her as KG, class of 2011. Some of her statistics that I read out during that were absolutely insane. Then you also had Mikey Anderton and L.A. Allen, both in the class of 2014 being inducted this year. And I just have some pictures of them. And it was a great event. I really look forward to doing this, for years and years on, giving it its own separate day and really allowing them to be celebrated. The selection committee was comprised of, Mr. Bob Frazier, myself, Mark Ware, Stephen Carter, otherwise known as Stretch, and then Miss Ball actually was on the selection committee as well. And it was a great day. That's really all I have for the Spring Sports Award, Spring Sports Review. Does anybody have any questions? I just want to say lastly, thank you all. I really, really enjoyed this year. This is obviously my first year ever as an AD, and I've thoroughly enjoyed it. West Point as a whole has welcomed me, even though I am kind of an outsider. I'm from Matthews, and every time I see Mr. Ben Vincent, he goes, "Oh, there's a Matthews guy again." There he is. But everybody has welcomed me, and I've really, really appreciated that, and I look forward to many, many more years of making this athletic department as successful and as fun as it can possibly be. So, thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you. Summer projects, follow up. Frazier, Mr. Leach.
All right, so at our May board meeting, we presented some of our projects that we were working on this summer. And during that board meeting, there were some concerns with some of the vinyl graphics that we were planning to use in both schools. And so from that meeting, it was asked that we conduct a survey. And so the survey was conducted, and so you can see the survey data there on the screen. You can see that first one from the elementary school, and those categories were like it, love it, and try again. And so based on the try again, it was quite a bit of feedback that we received, with folks saying, that some of the graphics were a little too much, or to change the colors. It was a lot of feedback, and so that feedback has been provided to board members in its accurate seats. And so instead of moving forward with the vinyls on the walls, we have pivoted just a little. And so now we're working with the company to put together some panels that can go on the walls. And those panels will have removable fabrics. So the designs may be one way for a while, and then after a while we can change up those designs. And we are working with our building administrative teams as to what they think would be those appropriate graphics to start with. But I did want the board members to know that survey was conducted, and the board members can see in their packet all of the comments as well that went with the survey. Should go to the next slide. You can see that there were the 5 designs at the middle school, high school. So we have moved forward with some of the painting at the middle school, high school. And so the brown tile that was in the middle school, high school cafeteria is no more. And so that tile has been painted, and it looks really good. It looks like a brand new cafeteria was built. And so we are really excited about that. But like I said, we are not moving forward with the vinyl, but we are working on some other graphics that can be positioned throughout the building to help bring some color throughout and make it look more like a modern facility. Happy to take any questions from board members.
I just want to make sure too that when we're talking about the colors themselves, the blue that keeps showing up is like a royal blue, and that's not West Point blue. West Point blue is more navy. So I just want to make sure if we're painting or if we get graphics done.
The paint in the cafeteria is navy blue.
Okay.
And so we knew on these mock-ups that the blue was too light. And so we had already worked with the graphic designer on that. And so that is not the blue. The blue is the navy blue that is on the actual logo, like on my shirt tonight. So that is the navy blue that's being used.
Anything else? Thank you, Dr. Gray. We got a couple items under study. Mr. Walker, bag recommendation.
Good evening. As some of you, I guess, I'm sure you have this in your packet, but we this year have rolled out our weapon scanners, as we all know, through our school days and to our athletics and events. And as we start taking the steps next year to be more efficient, we do look at our events as being making sure that when fans are coming in, we can quickly get fans in and spectators into where the purpose that they're there. And so this past spring, you noticed that the graduation, we did ask people that were guests that were coming to graduation to please not bring bags. Obviously, we weren't telling them they couldn't, but we did ask that they didn't. And that really worked really well. If you came to graduation, you saw how efficient we really moved individuals through at a high number through our scanners. It allowed our support team, our security support team, to really rely on the scanners rather than continuously using our eyes to search multiple bags and items. And so we felt that moving forward, this might be something that we should put in place for all of our extracurricular activities. And so we have a proposed regulation that would start this school year that for any extracurricular activities, competitions, concerts, events, that there would be a strict bag regulation We would obviously have no bags, but we would make exceptions for the 5x7 clutch purses, medical necessary bags, diaper bags, and then any clear bags that are easily, that we can visually see easily in the, during that screening process. And so we just feel this is going to help our security team be more efficient and allowing us to use our scanners and our wands more efficiently as well. And so just for your consideration.
And so if there are no concerns with that being a regulation, I would like to move that to an action item where the board then directs the leadership team to implement a bag regulation. And the reason why we would make it a regulation, not a policy, is because a regulation can be amended. So if there can be amended without having a formal board meeting. So if there's a situation where we need to say for this event there is no bags, if there's a heightened security alert or something, then we can easily do that as a division leadership team. So I would ask tonight that the board just vote to direct us to move forward with the regulation on with the bag regulation.
I make a motion to move it to an action item.
Motion to move to an action item. Is there a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. All that opposed, motion carries. I will put that after the technology resolution.
I just want to say, y'all did a phenomenal job at graduation. I don't know how many of y'all were there. Y'all were so smart to move it into the cafeteria. Like, I don't know, you were really good at thinking it through, and it was seamless. Like, it was amazing. So I just want to say kudos. Good job.
TSA could have taken some.
I was like,
It was amazing.
It was so fast.
A
And
fine team.
yeah, it was great.
The
So,
team did great.
yeah.
We are very grateful for our team of folks that step in and they help for those events. We know that several of those folks they do other jobs in the division, but Mr. Walker is able to provide them with the training that's necessary to run the machines and also what the looks fors are in those safety situations, and they're able to run with it. And it's been phenomenal, and yes, they did a magnificent job. Congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. Next item under study, yonder cell phone pouches. Starts.
All right,
Tell
so
us some pouches first. From bags to pouches.
bags to pouches,
All right.
here we go. Okay, so I don't know if y'all are familiar or aware, the governor just issued an executive order regarding cell phones in schools. And if you guys have listened to any of the meetings, you know how I should know I feel very strongly that there should not be cell phones in classrooms. And so one of the problems that you hear from teachers and administrators, I'm sure as well, is it is a struggle to enforce a cell phone policy. When you're in the classroom as an instructor, the last thing you want to have to deal with is taking someone's phone. And we're not talking about an inexpensive item either, right? These things cost thousands of dollars. You know, it gets parents all in a tizzy anyway. So there's a whole thing about it. And I've seen this company was publicized, some other school system had used it. And so it's kind of in the back of my mind. And then when officially the executive order came out, which I appreciate because that gives, I think, schools and teachers, superintendents, principals, a little bit more backing to enact a policy. I was like, okay, well, what can we do to make it easier on teachers, administrators, and give parents and students peace of mind at the same time? And so this is the only company I've seen that has something like this. I could be wrong. But I asked Dr. Frazier if maybe we could look into it. I don't even know how much they cost or any of that. But before, I don't think you're gonna click on the website, but before you do that, I looked up some statistics, because I like to look up statistics, if y'all know me, about cell phones. So I know a lot of parents and students have issues with their not being able to have access to their cell phones in school during class time. If something super important is gonna come across that cell phone, they have to have. And aside from the impact that cell phone use has on academics, because I feel like that's hopefully pretty obvious for most people, what we keep hearing today about our students is mental health issues, social issues. And when we talk about it, we kind of seem perplexed, like, oh, I don't know what's going on. It wasn't like this when I was in school. And I'm like, well, we didn't have cell phones and social media when I was in school. And it is a very different world. If you guys have not watched the documentary called Social Dilemma, I would strongly encourage you all to watch it. There is a direct correlation, can't say causation, correlation between when social media became available on mobile devices and the increase in girls committing suicide between the ages of 10 and 19, an astronomical number. So the suicide rates and depression amongst American teenagers went up 70% and 151% respectively when social media came into play and was put onto mobile devices. That is a shocking number. So when parents are, this is the reason why I'm putting it out there, when parents are concerned about their kids not having their cell phones, because what if something happens at school? This is the kind of thing that we need to make parents aware of. I don't think that they necessarily make the connection. The impact that constant access to social media has on mental health is absolutely, it's evident, right? They constantly want to see the clicks, how many likes they get. They post something and then people post me comments. One of the things I tell my students, I give them this lecture constantly, is when I was in school and you had a bad day at school, you would go home and you went home, right? Like you might ponder on it, maybe it's a weekend, you have a weekend to recover from it, you go back to school. Most of the time, it kind of dissipates, right? It went away. Maybe there's a few people that still talked about it. It didn't live in infamy forever. You weren't constantly berated with comments about it. That's not what students have nowadays. So whether they're looking for constant acceptance or something bad happened or they're getting made fun of, whatever it is, it just exacerbates it. There's also other health issues like texting neck, eye strain and blurred vision, decreased neural connectivity, which leads to poor emotional regulation. Anybody seen any preteens or teenagers with poor emotional regulation? Poor dietary habits and phantom vibrations that go off. So there's lots of reasons why we should be limiting cell phone usage in general, even for ourselves as adults, right? But our purview is the school and what we can do during school hours. So I didn't even go on a whole tirade, but I think it's really important that we have a full picture of why we don't want cell phones in the classroom versus just academics, because then you have the parent who's like, well, my kid gets all A's, or my kid doesn't have behavior problem, blah, 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 blah. Well, there's more to it than that. I know at Gloucester, we had so many kids filming fights. And so then that just exacerbates the situation. So there's lots of reasons why cell phones are not a good thing to have in school. That to say, what can we do about it? So we've had a no cell phone policy in the classroom. It's very difficult to enforce. There's all these workarounds. Well, I've got an Apple Watch. Well, I've got, it's just my AirPod in my ear, blah, 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 blah. So I think this might be a good solution. I don't know how much it costs. So I don't know, do we get a cost estimate yet? Maybe?
So we have reached out to the company.
Okay.
We could not get a meeting on the books until tomorrow afternoon. So
Okay.
we have a meeting tomorrow afternoon. I also reached out to other school divisions who have already implemented or who are working on the implementation process. And so one of those school divisions did say that the price that they were quoted is $30 per pouch.
Okay.
And so to get us to 500 pouches, that takes care of the middle school, high school with some extras, that would be approximately $15,000. And then there is some costs for some other mechanisms that are needed for the unlocking
Right.
of the pouches. But we won't have those details until after we meet with the company tomorrow afternoon.
Or is that linked to something?
There's a
Okay.
YouTube video so you can kind of see how this process will work.
Make up your own subtitle.
And then at dismissal, the exit, they just go up to one of these magnets. These are our Yonder bags. Students take these and put their cell phones in it during the day. So at arrival, you just slip your cell phone in here and you just lock it there, and it's completely secured for the day. Students are able to hold these pouches with them during the day. And then at dismissal, at the exit, they just go up to one of these magnets. They put the round side on the magnet and they press the button, and the pouch opens and they're able to take their cell phone out.
Yeah, so basically, when they walk in the door in the morning, they're told to put their phones into their pouches and they lock them. And then the magnets that you saw are removable from the walls, so they wouldn't be up all day. So then at dismissal, at all the exits, you would just put them up so the kids could then, they wouldn't have access to them all day. So then the kids can unlock them on their way out. So it's kind of like that baby blanket, right? Like, I don't want you to have my phone. I don't want to leave my phone at home. It's still with them, but it's in a means that they are not going to be able to access it and get distracted.
So we will have more information tomorrow, but it's definitely the board wants to have some discussion.
I'd be curious, one of the things you talked about was the watches and the AirPods. It's not a Faraday cage in that pouch, it's not gonna prevent that. So is it a Faraday cage for one thing?
I don't know what a Faraday cage is.
Think big metal box that doesn't let signal go out.
Oh, okay,
Essentially.
right.
The other thing I'm curious on, I know it's been a new policy with the cell phone change as far as for implementing it and the discipline related to the cell phone, how that's gone. I'm kind of curious on that as well. I know that as a whole, we're pushing to increase discipline throughout the schools. I am curious on some of the other schools that have implemented this, how that has impacted discipline in the school. Are we creating a system versus raising expectation?
And so, in speaking with other school divisions today, because this all transpired quickly, I've heard both sides of that. So I've heard the side of the students that still come to school that refuse to put their phones in the pouches, and so then those students then have to be placed in school suspension, which we have ETS. There's a different brand of pouch. So it's my understanding that there are some pouches, which I don't know for sure if the Yonder pouches have the alarms on them if they try to open. And so if there's another brand of pouches out there that does not have an alarm, and so students in some schools have cut the pouches so they can just take the phones out during the day, and so that then ends up being a discipline piece. But hopefully with the Yonder pouch, there's the alarm on that pouch, so the cutting should not be an issue. I would let Ms. Burke speak to what discipline has been like in the building this past 2 years since the policy was changed. We pulled some discipline data, but if that really only showed those situations that was multiple times that students were.
Right. So for the first part of the year, it went really well. Along about April, I think we had tired teachers, tired kids, and from April and May, it got worse. Typically, as in a lot of discipline, you have the same handful of kids who are still refusing to hand over their cell phone, refusing to follow teachers' directive. So then you move into discipline that way. We didn't have an overwhelming number of those kind of cases. And one of the downfalls of any of this is every staff member has to be doing the same thing every day.
And you said that in the issue when we talked about it last
Yes.
summer. I remember us talking about it specifically.
So, when we look at a system of, I completely support no cell phones. They're detrimental in so many ways, not just academically, social, emotionally, but I throw them all in the river, make it more sure. But, But as far as how we handle it, you know, even with the pouches, if we don't expect everybody to do the same thing, you know, 6 one half dozen another. Yeah, is the expectation there, who's gonna take care of the pouches, and what if we have staff members who are like, yeah, I don't care if they rip that out. Do you know what I mean? So I'm not sure what the right answer is to all of this. But as far as discipline, like I said, the first half of the year went really well. The second half of the year, from winter, April on, teachers got tired of fighting the fight. And it's not every kid. But, you know, one of the big issues became not the cell phones, it became earbuds that are attached to a cell phone somewhere. The beads that are attached to a cell phone. So, you know, listen, if a kid wants to find a way around it, they'll find a way around it. But most of our students, I would say 95% of our students, did exactly what they were supposed to do. You know, so, I know that doesn't really give you a definitive answer, but I'm kind of at the same way. I've been pondering, Mr. Leash, I've got, you know, what is the right way to ensure that we don't have cell phones during instructional time, that our kids are protected, that their devices are protected. Because teachers don't want to take $1,000 phone. You know, that's a big ask sometimes. You know, so I know with the executive order, we have a little bit of room to make plans and find out some, you know, what other divisions are doing and how we want to proceed with this. But as far as the discipline aspect goes, they discovered the watches and the ear pods, the AirPods from April on, and those became the bigger issue because they're connected to something somewhere, or else I wouldn't hear that cool music in the hallway. So.
Thank you.
What's the guidance from DOE September?
So DOE now is working listening sessions throughout across the state. And so once they find those listening sessions, have that date on time.
Yeah, I thought I read it.
Just an email.
Yeah, I thought it was, they would do that around August and then.
But DOE is required to provide guidance to school divisions by January 1.
That's what I was gonna say, it's 2025.
I thought that's when it had to be enacted.
That's what they have to provide the guidance about.
I mean, the video that I watched, and I'm not like, this is what we have to do, this is just an idea. I did not, maybe I should have. I did not, this is just the one that, like I said, crossed my path, and I said, well, maybe this is a good solution. The video that I watched, and it was like testimonials, it was on their website, it was like testimonials from different schools. Excuse me. It looked as though, when the students entered the building, so in our case, they go through weapons detections. The person that's there says, put your phone in your pouch, lock your pouch. So it seemed to be something that was done before they even entered the classroom, which is why I was like, well, that's intriguing because it takes a little bit of the burden off of our teachers, the teachers that don't like to participate. It removes it from them as well. So I don't know if that's feasible or not from a security side, but that was just the video. So I was like, well, maybe that, and that's kind of what I was thinking. I was like, what is going to be a good solution that parents, admin, and teachers can all be okay with, kind of compromise. No offense to students, but I'm not really worried about what they're okay with when it comes to cell phones. So, because they're not going to be okay with any of it. They're gonna have an issue with all of it. But if anybody else comes up with another idea or comes across another company, then I think that's great. But I just think it's something we should definitely be at least exploring. I don't know.
So I would say the other thing that we just that we need to keep in mind as we're planning for any of this is that process in the morning. And so as students enter the buildings, they're already going through weapon detection. And that process now currently in the middle school, high school, how many staff members help with that process? There's 6 staff members that help with that process. And to be honest, our teachers are not always pleased that they're having to give up their some of them it's their first period planning time that they're helping with the arrival so we might need to have some conversations about, do we need additional staff, additional safety staff to help with all of these processes in the mornings? Because it is a lot, and it will add to it if we're looking to lock phones down.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great alternative to look at. It definitely needs to be explored. You know, maybe it's not one size fits all. Maybe it's part of the escalation of offenses, right? You know, after your third time, you're putting school in. I don't know, but yeah, I think it makes sense to look at the guidance. I don't think we'll be shocked by the guidance. Gives you guys the opportunity to get feedback from them and other divisions. We need to hear from parents. But I think it's something that everyone's got to participate in, get feedback so we can understand. Like, come up with a good solution for everyone, right?
I think we also have to be, and this isn't about, it's just the cell phone policies in general, is that as much as I'm for parental rights, because I'm a big advocate for that, I'm also for what's best for the kids in the building and the teachers and how they can do their jobs. And at some point, we need to be able to say to parents, if something happens to your kid's school, you're gonna get notified. We have phones when you were in school, because all the parents now were in school pretty I'm pretty sure when you were in school, there was an emergency, they just called the office and we got your kid and it was okay. And I think that just like students and children, us adults have become a little attached to these things. And so I think that we're gonna have to be prepared as well to kind of have that tough love conversation with parents as well as with students on it, no matter what we do, whether it's pouches or whatever. So.
Yeah, I was listening to something the other day, and the woman, I think it's the woman that wrote The Anxious Generation, and she said there were 4 norms that she put forward, and it said no smartphones before high school, no social media before the age of 16, ban smartphones in schools, and more free play. And I thought, wow, that sounds kind of like what it was like when I was a kid. There were none of those things, you just, but
Yeah.
to your point, I do think it's a lot for us to think about, and it's, like you said, Elliot, it's also not one size fits all. We really do have to think through what's right.
Well, I think it sounds like we're gonna have a school full of kids violating cell phone policies, right? To your point, like, the tough conversations will probably be limited.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be a message that has to be to everyone, but I think that's key in figuring this out is, what are the behaviors around it? It's not the phone, right? It's the student, family support, or whatever, right? We've got to figure that piece out too. It may benefit just as much as whatever a technical solution. Good sourcing effort here.
So we will take this information that's been presented tonight, and we'll move forward with our meeting that we have tomorrow. We also received an email I received an email this morning from another company that does something very similar, and they are shipping us a sample of their product, so we'll look at that, and we will be prepared to provide an update to the board at our August board meeting. So just understanding and knowing that this is not something that will be implemented before the start of school, that this is something that we will take our time to explore and to have conversations about and work through to communicate appropriately.
And maybe it's something too that we can ask staff whether, do they have ideas on how we could better implement the policy? Because we already have the policy. We already have it on the books, so is there a better way to implement it? Maybe get their feedback on this or whatever the other one is.
And I think even with the governor's order, with the governor's executive order, it's more so for those school divisions that have done none of this work. And so this board has done some of the work, like we put a policy in place. And so, yes, we can get additional feedback from teachers, we can get information from the companies, and there's lots that we can do. So we continue the conversation. Let's not rush it, but continue having the conversation to do what's best, and like Ms. Shreve said, what works best and fits best for West Point.
On to action items. First up, we have our expenditures and receipt of our revenue reports. Do I have a motion to approve our expenditures and receipt of revenue reports?
So moved.
Do I have a motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Likewise, we have our cafeteria expenditures. Do I have a motion to approve our cafeteria expenditures?
So moved.
Do I have a motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye. Motion carries. Personnel recommendations. Do I have a motion to approve our personnel?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All that opposed, the motion carries. Next up are initial tuition student applicants for 24-25. Do I have a motion to approve those?
So moved.
Do I have a motion with a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All that opposed, motion carries. We have a homeschool student request for the 24-25 school year. Do I have a motion to approve that homeschool student request?
So moved.
Motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All that opposed, that motion carries. Code of conduct for the 24-25 school year. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
We have a motion, we have a second.
Second.
Any other discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye. All that opposed, the motion carries. Crisis plan, we have, need to accept our crisis plan for 24-25. Do I have a motion to accept?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye. All that opposed,
I just wanna say,
motion carries. Yes.
what a nice job has been done on the crisis plan. And how different it is today than it was, when I joined the board several years ago. So kudos to all of you for working so hard on that. It made me feel good to read it, because I thought, wow, they're ready.
You never have to be ready.
Right, that's exactly right.
Okay, our technology resolution for 24-25. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? Not all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All that opposed, the motion carries. And lastly, our new bag policy. Regulation. Thank you, Ms. Page. Regulation. The only question, I'm assuming that's for spectators, like,
Yeah, so, yeah.
we're not
obviously-
doing athletes.
No, I say the athletes are
Bags.
coming in that need their
Gotcha.
necessary stuff,
Okay.
obviously, but that's
All right.
not just okay.
All right, so do I have a motion to approve our new bag regulation?
The motion would be to direct the superintendent and his leadership team to move forward with a bag regulation for the 24-25 school year.
So moved.
Thanks for Ms. Shreves. Do I have a second to that? We have a second. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All that opposed, the motion carries. Dr. Frazier, feel free to regulate.
And so we will work with our communications folks as well to make sure that when we have special events, that everyone knows, the guidelines on our bags.
All right. Got our information packet. Anything you want to call out, Dr. Frazier?
So new teachers start on August 5th and returning staff comes back on August 6th. And so August 6th is the day of convocation. And so we always invite board members to participate in convocation, especially for the opening and with folks wanna come back or hang around through lunch. This year we will have, several times throughout this past school year, different members of the team spoke about, the presenter that talks about hope. And so that person will come into the professional development on that day for staff. So we're excited about that. We were able to get her. She has an afternoon activity in Henrico, so she's coming to West Point first, and then she's going to Henrico.
What time is that starting? What time is convocation starting?
Convocation is starting at 8 o'clock with breakfast. That's all I have. The only other thing I will be reaching out to board members, sending an email. Just need to start talking about a possible board work session, just so we can follow up on some strategic plan stuff, but also look at some policy work as we look at some of our policies that we've received from the SBA. We talked one time about not just putting those policies in the packet, but having some time to actually talk through some of them. So we will be trying to look at a date to get board members together for a work session.
All right.
Can we confirm that the September meeting is the 17th?
Delegations, Mr. Leach. Thank you. August agenda items. That's done. Next August meeting is August 20th.
That is the second day of school. The first day of school is
It's the
August
19th,
19th.
right?
There's almost never.
Sounds about it, right? All right, anything else? Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We're adjourned. Thank you all.